In 1965, my father moved from the countryside to Ljubljana, where he bought a piece of land on the outskirts of the city. His intention was to build a house there. He photocopied building plans borrowed from his new neighbors, who had themselves recently come from the countryside and were building a house on the same street. It was much cheaper to photocopy some standard building plan than it was to hire an architect. And so my father started building his house. My father was employed full-time at a nearby factory. For many years he spent every afternoon, weekend, holiday and vacation building his house. Friends and relatives would lend a hand, but now and then he would hire some Bosnian laborer to help out and would pay him under the table. When the ground floor was complete, my father rented out rooms to students. He himself lived in the basement. In this way, he got the money he needed to keep on building the house. In 1970, my father put a roof on the house, got married and started a family. Around this time, my grandfather died, so my father invited my grandmother, his mother, to come live with us. He built an addition on the house with its own entrance, but officially he called it a greenhouse, so he wouldn't have to pay for a building permit. My grandmother would watch my sister and me while our parents were at work. This saved a lot of money since there was no need to pay for daycare. My grandmother also tended the flower and vegetable gardens. She devoted particular care to her fall chrysanthemums, which she grew especially for November 1st, the Day of the Dead. A few days before the holiday, she would cut the mums and make them into flower arrangements, which she then sold in front of our house, since it was very close to city's main cemetery. My sister and I grew up, and before long each of us had her own car. My mother also had her own car. But we only had one garage. So my father chopped down the tree in front of our house to make room for a roof for a parking space. When my sister got married, we raised the roof of the house by 1 meter. This was enough for us to transform the previously unused space under the roof into a livable loft apartment. We added stairs on the outside of the house so the new family could have their own entrance. All these changes we made without getting any building permit. All we got was our neighbors' consent. When my grandmother died, I moved into her part of the house, which we called the greenhouse. Today, we are 3 families living in the same house.